So Prometheus is a film I can honestly say I have never heard a single positive comment about. I mean, between my comment sections, Twitter, nobody seems to like this film. Feels like Alien fans are very divisive on it. And after watching it, I can totally understand why. Because if you go into it with a certain expectation, you think it's going to be connected to the other films. It's really not. It feels completely different tonally. You have Alien, obviously, it's a scary film. Aliens, action sci-fi, so are the ones after it. This film feels a lot more concerned with doing commentary, highbrow cinema, sci-fi, where it's talking about existential topics, God, just doing a lot of commentary on that. So I really understand why people don't like it. That being said, I really don't understand why people hate it either, because there's a lot to like in this film. So as I'm going to get into in just a sec, there's a lot to like. It doesn't always work, but I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. To its core, Prometheus is a film about a group of scientists trying to understand the origins of mankind, meet their elders, because it's documented across nearly every civilization, the same elders that are connecting us all. They're just trying to understand why we were created, what our purpose was, why there are gods, all of these topics. It's exploring a ton of commentary. So as I said, I totally understand why it doesn't work for people, but it's got a lot of good in it as well. Starting off with the first thing that really sticks out to me, and it's something I think is almost indisputable, that's the cinematography. The way this film looks is absolutely stunning and beautiful. I'm not a huge sci-fi epic guy. I have a hard time getting immersed usually. This is a film where the world building and the immersion is so good. Within 5 minutes, I was sold on this world. It just looks captivating to see. And it kind of made me sad I never got to see it on a big screen, because there's a couple of scenes in here that are just breathtakingly awesome. I love the visuals of this film. For context, I'm someone who struggled to get into the most recent Dune movies. I know everybody loves them so much. I had a hard time getting into number one. I was not familiar with it. It was hard to get immersed in that world. Did not have that trouble with Prometheus. I was on board within 5 to 10 minutes. It's that good. This begs the question, is Prometheus another example of a film that's all style, no substance? I don't really agree with that, because I do enjoy the topics they're trying to explore. Very existential, talking about God, what's our purpose. I've always been someone who's really interested in that, so that did not bother me at all. In fact, I really enjoyed the topics they're exploring, the commentary. That's something I think about. I think a lot of people think about our purpose, creationism, all of that stuff. I think, it's kind of tacky sometimes the way some of these films do it, but I thought this film was clever enough that it kept me engaged with the way they were trying to tell it. I found some of these scenes and what they're depicting to be pretty chilling. The concept of meeting your God, finding out they don't even care about you at all. There's no afterlife, just nothingness, and they're just creators like us. A threat could be so powerful it can wipe out your God. And then the fact that you share the world with this threat that wiped out your God, you've just found out there's nothing, and you're probably going to go soon because that threat is insurmountable. That's all terrifying in its own regard, even though it isn't a visual, visceral thing you're seeing. Pretty scary shit. In a sense, it all kind of feels like that age-old question of what came first, the chicken or the egg. We have gods, but do our gods have gods? Where do we draw the line with that circle? Who's the ultimate higher power? And then you have the fact that humans can procreate, we can create things, so it's like, are we gods? Are we gods, the creatures we make? What makes somebody viewed as a god? They're asking all of these questions through a movie, and I just thought it was pretty cleverly done. Again, I'm somebody, whenever you talk about commentary, do a metaphor, it needs to work as a traditional film, and I think this does work as a traditional sci-fi epic. So I give it a pass and think it was done pretty cleverly. It didn't come off as preachy or pretentious to me, but I do completely understand if you do find this movie to be preachy and pretentious, because I'm somebody, as I said, pretty existential. I ponder these things from time to time. The meaning of life, I like to get deep. I thought it was all very thought-provoking, very interesting, but if everything I'm talking about sounds boring as shit to you, you are not interested in that at all. Avoid this movie. It is not for you. This film also is completely stacked when it comes to the acting. It has 5 or so all-stars. Idris Elba, Michael Fassbender, along with others. Michael Fassbender's great in this, as we've come to expect in basically everything he's in, except the Snowman. Fuck that movie. But in all seriousness, he's playing David in this, the AI robot. And the entire commentary I talked about earlier about existentialism, gods, all of that, it's contrasted through his character because he plays David, this robot. Obviously, he views humans kind of as his creators, his god. He's trying to understand their motives behind it, what their beliefs are. He kind of hates humans for that in some regard, but he also can't help but be captivated by them. Because he's such an objective being, he's a robot. He can't really understand that they have emotions, they're driven by irrational beliefs. It's a lot of cool commentary. As I said, it's all done and contrasted through the fact he's a robot. He's kind of trying to understand the purpose of life. He's kind of coming to learn that even gods are mortal. So power is kind of how a person views it. And all of it's kind of done in a very clever way. So again, I really enjoyed the way this film's structured for the most part. Getting back to Idris Elba, he's great at playing the captain in this. He has some comedic relief. He's kind of playing the exact same role it felt like he played in Pacific Rim.
Today we are canceling the apocalypse!
The last character I wanted to talk about and mention is the lead girl, Shaw. I wasn't really sold on her character overall, even though she's well acted, until a scene involving a surgery. I thought the way they used the ideas of future technology, it was so creative and badass, really sold me on her character. So that's a scene I really liked and stood out. Very gory, cool. I was on board from that point on. So those are my standouts for acting. I thought it was all really good. And now it's time for the negatives. The first negative to this, while the entire world looks great on a big scale, when you get into some of the smaller special effects, some of them look really bad and corny that stood out, especially this one old man. He had this very aged look where his skin's wrinkly, but it just looked like that Goosebumps mask you can't pull off if you've ever seen that episode. This is also a film I would consider undeniably pretty slow, and I can't really see myself revisiting it often, if ever, so I have to knock it down a peg. It's not really a fun film. As I said, it's not a creature feature, it's more of an elevated sci-fi film exploring these really deep themes. You do get a couple kills, the ones you do get are great, but they're so few and far between. It just stands out. This is also a film I would say the characters are incredibly dumb. They're taking off their helmet before they know it's safe to do so, petting strange creatures. You have characters going off to get laid when other ones need help, sending out distress beacons. Then you have two characters most honorably mentioned. They can't move 2 feet to the left of a rolling rock. The whole thing reminded me of that Austin Powers scene with the steamroller. Honestly, after watching this, I couldn't help but feel like the whole alien thing connecting this was forced, and that Ridley Scott just wanted to make a trilogy that stood on its own, explored existential, deeper topics, but he knew it wouldn't get funded on this big of a scale without the alien name, so he just slapped it together. But all of that being said, overall, I do not really understand the hate for this film. I understand why people dislike it. It's not in their wheelhouse, but I think there's a lot of good elements to it. I think it's very thought-provoking. I think it looks great. There's definitely some flaws. You have some dumbass characters. Didn't really take me out of it. I thoroughly enjoyed the whole thing. I definitely think you can do worse. So are you guys some of the people who hate Prometheus? Are you guys Prometheus truthers? You guys consistently defend it, don't think it's that bad? Comment down below. Let me know all of it. I'd love to discuss it. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? I do it all on this channel. New releases, scary stuff, videos like this. Love to have you. Join me down below. That's all I got in this video. Peace.